The success of the watch was driven by the fact that this watch was worn and wanted by racing drivers. It was created for motorsport, and motorsport wanted it. And back then, if you were into motorsports and into Porsche, it's likely you would know about this watch. Back in the first episode, we explored F.A. Porsche's refining of the 911 instrument panel, where he learned that a matte black background with matte white numerals and a signal red needle was the most legible format for the drivers. This was the origin of the Chronograph I, because the legibility of a watch is just as important as the legibility of an instrument panel in a race car. Matte black, mechanical, anti-reflective, and purpose-built. This was an instrument on the wrist. In 1972, F.A. Porsche created his own design studio, which became Porsche Design. This move allowed F.A. Porsche to explore other ideas rather than being pulled back into car-only thinking. The philosophy around this new design studio was around the 10 commandments of design. He used those 10 commandments along with the learnings that he got from creating the 911 and put that into his passion for watches, and that resulted in the Chronograph I. The original manufacturer of the Chronograph I was Orfina, and they had such a personal relationship with F.A. Porsche that the first Chronograph I was gifted to F.A. Porsche with his initials, FAP, on the dial. Porsche was so impressed with this watch that they became the first customer, buying 25 pieces a year to give to employees who had been with the company for a number of years. However, loyal customers of Porsche got wind that there was this watch going around, this Porsche watch, and that myth just grew. It grew to the point of the watch being spotted on the wrist of racing drivers in newspapers. The overwhelming demand for the watch made it a natural next step for Porsche to launch this watch publicly. The Chronograph I was considered an expensive watch. Back in 1974, it cost twice the price as a Hoya Carrera. When F.A. Porsche was questioned about the price of the watch, he simply responded with, "Quality isn't cheap." The success of the watch drove the need for a global supply chain. Porsche watch owners would go to their local watchmaker, the local jeweler, to get the watches repaired, and these watchmakers would need to source replacement parts. F.A. Porsche wasn't all that interested in creating a global distribution system. He was focused on design. So his brother Hans-Peter stepped in to create the network that is still in use today. Creating a chronograph as your first watch isn't the normal route. You typically create a more simple product and then build up to something with a complication like a chronograph. For F.A. Porsche, making a chronograph just made sense. It's a point in which two parts of his passion join: motor racing and watches. Also, given the fact that it was his background, his legacy, his family's legacy in motor racing. He grew up around sports cars being built by his father and grandfather, so motor racing is part of his DNA, and given his design philosophy, he doesn't just want to make a piece of jewellery that's on his wrist. He wanted to make something that's functional, something that would be useful and deeply connected to his passion and love for motorsports. At the time, in the 70s, speed measuring devices were inaccurate. However, if you did the simple speed calculation using the chronograph function on your watch, you could much more accurately measure the speed of your car, measure your lap time. What also made the watch special was the fact that Porsche wasn't a household name. It's one of those situations of if you know, you know. Those who recognize the watches were part of the same group. You're all into motorsport. The success of the watch was driven by the fact that this watch was worn and wanted by racing drivers. It was created for motorsport, and motorsport wanted it. F.A. Porsche's obsession around creating a watch that was highly legible resulted in him creating the perfect military watch. And in the 1970s, the watch was picked up by various military units around the world, including the Swiss Army, NATO, Bundeswehr, the Royal Air Force, and the US Air Force. Thousands of watches were delivered, and these watches weren't available to the public. These watches were specifically designed for the military units to be tools for the military units to use. At that time, the Chronograph I was the issued watch for the Navy pilots. To prove its functionality, the Swiss Army chose the Chronograph I over any of their domestic models. The watch's success within military units is because of its durability in harsh environments, something found both on the racetrack and on the airfield. Between 1973 and 1991, there were 51,000 Chronograph Is made. Because of this massive increase in demand, Porsche Design moved manufacture from Orfina to IWC. By the late 80s, Porsche Design timepieces had proven two things. One, that pure function can be beautiful. Two, that this message will travel. From racetracks to air bases, the question is, can you keep this edge without becoming nostalgic? The answer? Materials, technology, and obsession.